Beatrice of Bourbon was a French noblewoman, a member of the House of Bourbon. She was by marriage Queen of Bohemia and Countess of Luxembourg. She was the youngest daughter of Louis I, Duke of Bourbon, and Mary of Avesnes. Life. Marriage on 28 September 1330, Queen Elizabeth of Bohemia, wife of King John of Bohemia, died. The news was that the king, distraught for the loss of his wife, manifested his feelings using mourning clothes. After all, they were married for 20 years, and yet remained completely himself with a brief time. This was in Bohemia. The other side used to be mostly in the county or elsewhere, where he discussed the matter. Despite the fact that John and Elizabeth became estranged during the last years of the marriage, the king remained a widower for the next 4 years. The French King Philip VI wanted to tie John more closely with France, and he suggested to the Bohemian king a second marriage. The proposed bride was Beatrice, youngest daughter of the Duke of Bourbon and member of a cadet branch of the House of Capet. Beatrice was already betrothed, however, to Philip II, son of Philip I, Prince of Taranto, as of 29 May 1321. The engagement was broken soon after the marriage negotiations with Bohemia started. The marriage of King John of Bohemia and Beatrice of Bourbon was solemnized in the Château de Vincennes in December 1334. But because the two were related in a prohibited degree, Pope Benedict XII had to give dispensation for the marriage, which was granted in Avignon on 9 January 1335 at the request of Philip VI. The marriage contract stipulated that if a son was born from the marriage, the county of Luxembourg, as well as lands belonging to it, would go to him. King John's sons from his first marriage, Charles and John Henry, were not informed of the contents of the marriage contract, but both princes were compelled to accept it along with the knights and citizens of Luxembourg in August 1335. Life in Bohemia. Beatrice arrived in Bohemia on 2 January 1336. Her father came to Bohemia and brought him a wife, named Beatrix, daughter of the Duke of Bourbon and relative of the King of the Frenches. In the Bohemian court, Beatrice took care of the wife of her oldest stepson Charles, Blanche of Valois. Both women could easily communicate in French. The queen soon felt ill at ease in Prague, where she was always compared unfavorably with the Margravine of Moravia. Also, the Czech people were offended by her coldness, insolence and aversion to learning the language. The new Queen of Bohemia and Countess of Luxembourg brought with her an annual income of 4,000 livres extracted from her father's county of Clermont. On the 25th of February 1337, the Queen gave birth in Prague to her only child, a son named Wenceslaus after the holy patron of the Premyslid dynasty. Perhaps with this gesture either the Queen or her husband tried to gain the favor of the Bohemians. However, the relationship between Beatrice and her new subjects remained estranged. Her coronation as Queen of Bohemia in St. Vitus Cathedral 3 months later, on the 18th of May, was an event of spectacular indifference from the citizens of Prague. Shortly after her coronation, in June 1337, Beatrice left Bohemia leaving her son behind, and went to live in Luxembourg. After this, she rarely visited the Bohemian kingdom. Later years. On the 26th of August 1346, King John was killed in the Battle of Crecy, and Beatrice ceased to be queen consort. Her stepson, now King Charles of Bohemia, confirmed the provisions of her marriage contract. Beatrice, now Dowager Queen of Bohemia, received in perpetuity lands in the county of Hainaut, the rent of 4,000 livres, and the towns of Arlin, Marville and Damvillers as her widow's estate. These revenues were used not only for their own needs, but also for the education of her son. King Charles also left her all the movable property and income from the mines in Kutna-Hora. In addition, when her father Duke Louis I of Bourbon died in 1342, she received the sum of 1,000 livres, which was secured from the town of Creil. Around 1347, Beatrice married for a second time to Eudes II, Lord of Grancy, at her estate of Damvillers. Despite her new marriage, she retained the title of Queen of Bohemia. The couple had no children. Soon after her second marriage, she arranged the betrothal of her son Wenceslaus with the widow Joanna, Duchess of Brabant, daughter and heiress of John III, Duke of Brabant, who was 15 years older than he was. The marriage took place in Damvillers 4 years later, on the 17th of May 1351. Despite all the grants of land and money given to Beatrice, the Bohemian king delayed the investiture of his young half-brother Wenceslaus as Count of Luxembourg. In fact, he held on to the title until 1353, when Wenceslaus finally obtained sovereignty over the county. 1 year later the county was elevated to the rank of a duchy. Beatrice died on the 27th of December 1383, having outlived her son and all her stepchildren. She was buried in the now demolished Church of the Couvent des Jacobins in Paris. Her effigy is now in the Basilica of Saint Denis. Her second husband survived her by 6 years. Ancestors.